Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome, baseball fans, to another great episode of The Spread. I'm your host, Jim Sella, in studio with co-host Jay Dash. We got our Corked segment for you this week. We're going to talk about Mike Trout and Bryce Harper, and is anybody going to challenge one of these guys for the MVP? Because it seems like they're both just running away with it.
Especially Bryce Harper. But let me say first, before we get into this is exactly what Major League Baseball wanted since day one with Bryce Harper and Mike Trout. They want them both to win the MVP in the same season. And I wouldn't be surprised if they both do win it, even if both of them do not make the playoffs. And to me, the MVP has to make the playoffs. I mean, the most valuable player, how valuable are you if you don't make the playoffs, in my opinion? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, if you almost get them to the playoffs, but if you weren't there, they're only going to win 20 games, then you're pretty valuable.
I mean, I can see it if it comes down to the final series of the season or something. If you even sweep that series, you make the playoffs and you just miss out and you have a season like Bryce Harper's having, then I can see it. But for a team that has no chance of making the playoffs, not that the Angels or the Nationals have no chance. They're both still in it, but they're both going to miss the playoffs. If they started today, they would both be out. So it would be crazy to see both become MVP if they miss the playoffs, but it wouldn't surprise me at all because they've been waiting for this. They've been waiting for both of these players to have huge seasons so they can be each MVP of their respective league. But let's start with Mike Trout here. He's hitting .300 with a .395 on base and a .600 slugging percentage. 33 jacks, 21 doubles, 2 triples, 70 ribbies already, 79 runs. He's taken 58 walks compared to 113 Ks and 413 at-bats. And he's added 10 stolen bases as well. He doesn't steal the bases like he did when he first came up, but he still gets it done on the base pass. He's had at least 5 home runs in each month, although he has 1 home run so far this month, so he got to pick it up a little bit.
He can hit 5 in one game.
He's actually hitting 170 this month with a .304 on base, 9 walks compared to 17 Ks and 47 at-bats. But in July, he was hitting .367 with a .462 on base, had 12 jacks, 24 ribbies, 20 runs, 10 walks compared to 18 Ks and 79 at-bats. But speaking of his stolen base total being down, he's actually had 4 stolen bases over the last 3.5 months after having 6 stolen bases in April. So he hasn't been running nearly as much recently. But the Angels, they're still in the race here, sitting at 60-54, a game and a half behind Houston in the AL West. And I kind of think Mike Trout does need to get the Angels to the playoffs to win MVP, especially looking at who is right behind him in my mind, and that's Josh Donaldson playing for the Toronto Blue Jays, who are 64-52, just took over first place in the AL East from the New York Yankees. They're sitting on an 11-game winning streak. I know they brought in Tulo and David Price, but Tulo hasn't been hitting nearly as well as Josh Donaldson has recently. And I think this guy is making a run for Mike Trout's money, really. I mean, you look, just since the All-Star break, he has 10 jacks, 8 doubles, 25 ribbies, and 19 runs and 91 at-bats. So he is on a tear right now. In May was his best month. He had a .306 average with a .373 on base with 10 jacks, 8 doubles, 23 RBIs, 25 runs, and 111 at-bats. And he has at least 5 home runs in every month but June when he hit 3. And you look at his overall numbers right now, and they compare to Mike Trout's outside of the on-base percentages down a little bit. He's hitting .293 with a .362 on base and a .567 slugging. Has 31 jacks and 31 doubles already, though. Driving in more runs than Mike Trout. He has 85 ribbies. Scoring more runs than Mike Trout with 84 runs. He doesn't walk as much, 46 walks, but he also doesn't K as much, 100 Ks and 450 at-bats. Giving you a few stolen bases with 4, and he hasn't got caught stealing yet this season. But Josh Donaldson is on a tear right now, and he's making a run at Mike Trout, and I see no reason why not to take Josh Donaldson over Mike Trout if Toronto goes on and wins this division and goes into the playoffs.
Trout's fishing for the MVP. Donaldson's trying to reel him in.
But really, these are the only 2 players in the American League that I would consider, while the National League has a bunch of players. No, A-Rod has no chance to win MVP.
Damn.
But Josh Donaldson here, this is the guy that Billy Beane dealt to the Blue Jays this past offseason for Brett Lawrie. This guy stinks. I mean, he was a top prospect at one time. He's just not a good baseball player in the big leagues. This was a terrible move by Billy Beane, in my opinion. Josh Donaldson, like I came into the season saying he was the best third baseman in the American League, and I obviously still stick by that. But he might end up winning MVP. But let's not forget, Mike Trout, he won MVP last season as well. And 2 seasons ago, he came in second place behind Miguel Cabrera, who won the Triple Crown in the same season. So that's pretty much why he won that MVP. But Barry Bonds has 7 MVPs, and he came in second place twice in the MVP voting. Does Mike Trout have a chance to win more MVPs than Barry Bonds?
No. I just think there's too much young talent where he won't be, far and beyond the best player in baseball. I'm not saying that he's not going to be a great player for a long time. I just think there's too much other good talent out there right now to contend.
Well, as of right now, he's on his way to his second straight, and that's only if Josh Donaldson doesn't take it away from him, though. And the way I see it, I mean, the way they're both playing right now, I see Donaldson overtaking him because, like I said, Mike Trout's struggling really bad this month, although I expect him to turn it around a little bit, while Josh Donaldson might be the hottest hitter in all of baseball right now. In the National League, obviously Bryce Harper is leading with a .332 average, a .458 on base percentage, and a .643 slugging percentage. This guy is ridiculous. 29 jacks, 25 doubles, 69 RBIs, 77 runs, 83 walks already compared to 93 Ks and 367 at-bats. He does have 5 stolen bases as well. But look at this. His on-base percentage hasn't been below .440 in any month. And after hitting .286 in April, his average hasn't been under 300 in any month. He hasn't had less than 5 home runs in any month, although he has 0 home runs so far this month. So he really got to pick it up.
Keeps getting thrown out of games.
But you look at this. His best month was in May. He hit .360 with a .495 on base, 13 home runs, 28 RBIs, 24 runs, and 22 walks. And then he followed that up by hitting .370 in June. But his lowest OPS in a month was .985 in April. That is ridiculous.
It's garbage.
Garbage. You're gonna be kidding me. But again, the Nationals, they're 58 and 56 right now, second place in the NL East. And they would miss the playoffs if it started today. Now, if they miss the playoffs, I could definitely see Bryce Harper still winning MVP. I don't remember a guy having a season like this. I mean, this is one of the greatest seasons over the past decade, I would believe. Although Miguel Cabrera with the Triple Crown, you can't forget about that. But
Barry Bonds,
if I had to go with
home runs.
If both Mike Trout and Bryce Harper missed out on the playoffs, I would think Donaldson could overtake Trout, where I don't think anyone could really overtake Harper at this point unless he completely falls off, which it doesn't look like he's going to do. He just keeps hitting, although his home runs are down this month, but who really cares? He's going to hit some more home runs. But, I mean, there's some other good players here in the National League, and if Harper would happen to have a great fall off, or even if he got injured right now or something, we'll say. Buster Posey, he's having an excellent season for the Giants. .332 average, a .392 on base with a .504 slugging percentage, 16 jacks, 19 doubles, 76 RBIs, 57 runs, has taken 41 walks compared to just 36 Ks and 391 at-bats. This guy hardly ever strikes out. Now, you look, he got off to somewhat of a slow start in April, hit .263, but since then, he's been on a complete tear. .323 with a .398 on base in May. In June, he hit .316 with a .394 on base. And then look in July and August. Over the past month and a half, he's hit .400. In July, .400 with a .415 on base. August, .400 with a .440 on base. So this guy is getting on base a ton right now. And after April, when he had a .721 OPS, his lowest OPS in a month is .919. So as you can see, he's driving the ball as well. And he has at least one hit in 13 of his last 14 games. Now the Giants, they're sitting at 61 and 53, 2.5 games back of LA right now. And they would miss the playoffs as well if they started today. But I also seen a stat where he has saved the Giants between 12 and 14 runs this season. So he's playing excellent defensively as well. And really, I think the Giants would definitely have to make the playoffs for Buster Posey to be considered for an MVP, and Washington would have to miss out. And, I mean, that goes for the rest of these guys pretty much as well. I mean, whoever wins this, I mean, the team has to make the playoffs unless it's Bryce Harper, and they barely miss out. Anthony Rizzo's another one. The Cubs have to make the playoffs. And really, they're 65 and 48 right now, third place in the Central. Yeah, but they have the second wild card, and they're only a game and a half behind Pittsburgh right now. So Pittsburgh got to lock it down and hold that lead over them. But you look, the Cubs 13-1 in their last 14 games. And Rizzo during that stretch, 20 for 48 with 6 jacks, 15 RBIs, and 12 runs.
And a sick catch the other day. Did you see that? He ran up the freaking tarp onto the wall, dude, or on the first base line and snagged one.
Yeah, he's a pretty good first baseman as well. Now you look, he was struggling there for a while. In June, he hit 269 with a 353 on base, 6 home runs. July, he hit 250 with 372 on base and 4 home runs. But he's picked it back up this month, hitting 378 with a 467 on base and 3 jacks so far this month. And on the season, 296 with a 405 on base, a 539 slugging percentage. He's already hitting 22 home runs, 29 doubles, 2 triples, has 66 ribbies and 64 runs, and he doesn't strike out a lot. For a power guy, this guy hardly ever strikes out. 65 Ks and 406 at-bats. That's hard to find, and his walk rate's high, 56 walks already. And another thing you don't see much, first baseman stealing bases. Now, Paul Goldschmidt can steal some bases too, but Anthony Rizzo, 15 stolen bases already this season. This guy can get it done in every category for you. And if the Cubs make the playoffs, I would consider him if Bryce Harper falls off and Washington misses out.
It's a big if with Harper, though. All these poor bastards underneath of him, they just got to hope that he drops off. Because like you said, even if the Nationals don't make it, as long as they're in contention, if they completely fell off and missed the playoffs by like 10 games.
Or if he gets hurt.
Yeah. But, I mean, if they only miss the playoff by a game or two, it's going to be real hard for any of these guys to overtake.
Yeah, I agree. And the same goes for Andrew McCutchen. Now, this is a team that's probably going to make the playoffs, but I'm not going to say he has to pick it up some. You'd like to see a little bit more in the speed department from him, though. This is what really makes this guy valuable all around. Is he is the 5-tool type player, and he's not showing that 5th tool in the speed quite as.
Maybe that's as far as the knee injury went, just the speed and nothing else.
Well, I mean, defensively he still shows he can get around,
right?
But
Well,
offensively he hasn't really been.
Yeah, the bases is where it would hurt the most because you got to lean and run and dig.
And speaking of that knee, a lot of people were worried about it coming into the season. Especially after his slow start. In April, he hit 194 with a 302 on base, and people were worried. But since then, man, on a tear. 330 in May, 337 in June, 287 in July, and 353 this month with a 477 on base nonetheless.
I wouldn't be surprised if he still had to have a small procedure in the offseason, but this is like a gutted out type performance by Kutch where he just willed himself to a good season because he's that damn good.
And you look, man, he's right up there with everyone else in RBIs. 77 RBIs already, 18 home runs. He's one of the leaders in doubles as well with 28, has 3 triples. This is a guy that takes a ton of walks, 59 walks. But look, he's K'ing a little bit more than he has the past couple seasons as well. 87 Ks and 398 at-bats. Not terrible by any means, but also not his normal numbers. But still, a 395 on base. He's hitting right around 300. Has a 520 slugging percentage. If the Pirates go on and make the playoffs and a couple things happen the right way, Kutch could end up being in the conversation. But as of right now, I'd have to leave him out along with the rest of these guys just because, I mean, Bryce Harper's having one of those once-in-a-lifetime type seasons. But the Bucks, they're 66 and 46, 6 games back of St. Louis in the Central, and they're sitting in first in the wild card, although Chicago's on their tails right now.
When was the last time the Pirates 20 games over 500?
Last season.
Well, I mean, like, before this regime, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. The last guy, Paul Goldschmidt, he is actually having probably the second best season. But again, another guy that's probably not going to make the playoffs, and this is one that has to make the playoffs for me to give it to him. I mean,
yeah, they're too far behind.
I mean, they're 56 and 57, so it's not like they're completely out of it, but they're 7 games behind LA. They're not going to make the wild card, so they have to probably take over the division, and that's going to be hard to do with the Giants and LA ahead of them. But he's hitting .341, a .457 on base, has a .584 slugging percentage, 22 home runs, 27 doubles, 2 triples, 83 RBIs already, 74 runs already. Look at this, man. 89 walks compared to 98 Ks and 399 at-bats. And again, like I was saying, like Anthony Rizzo, one of those rare first basemen that can steal you bases. And this guy actually has 19 stolen bases. So you might actually see a 30-30 season from a first baseman. And I don't know if that's ever happened before. I mean, I haven't looked it up to make sure. But do you ever remember a first baseman stealing 30 bases in a season?
Unless the Big Hurt had some rockets up his ass. I don't think there were any first basemen stealing that many bases in our era.
But Goldschmidt, a batting average at or higher than .338 and an on-base percentage at or higher than .446 in each of his first 4 months. Now in August, he's slowed down. He's actually hitting .263 with a .370 on base, has no home runs this month. And if you look, he only has 2 home runs over his last 41 games, which is a long stretch to have that number of home runs, especially from a guy with this much power. But, I mean, the overall numbers are still there. In May, it was his best month, .365 with a .476 on base, 10 jacks, 23 ribbies, 21 runs, 22 walks compared to 25 Ks with 3 stolen bases in 104 at-bats. But like I said, he can only win MVP if they make the playoffs. Now, if they do somehow turn it around and make the playoffs and Washington misses out, which would probably happen if Arizona somehow made it into the playoffs, I would definitely think Washington wouldn't. I could see Goldschmidt overtaking Bryce Harper for the MVP title. But that's the only way, and I really don't see that happening. And as for Posey, Rizzo, and McCutchen, they got to make the playoffs, and Bryce Harper pretty much got to fall apart.
And that's probably not going to happen.
So yeah,
the AL
and
race
like I said,
definitely closer. I don't want to say closer, but I don't know. I just think Harper's just going to keep it going.
And this is all my own opinion, too. Let me tell you right now, Mike Trout and Bryce Harper are going to win MVP because they've been waiting for this. They're both finally having good seasons together. So it's going to be these two winning the MVP, no doubt.
It'd be like Sid and Patrick Kane winning it. And
yeah, that's what the league wants. It's going to make money for them, so they're going to do it.
Believe it. But that's all we got for you for Cork segment today, fans. You can follow us on Twitter at bet_the_spread. You can follow me on Twitter at betjimthewin. Check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/betthespread. Keep coming back to YouTube. Subscribe to that, like that, comment there. You can all tell me I'm an asshole. I really don't care.